Hello, Indie Warriors! Literary Rose here with I Dream of Indie, and today we're looking at Remote Life on the Switch. Remote Life is a single-player 2D side-scrolling space horror shoot-'em-up, or SHMUP, developed and published by Next Game Level. This title was originally released October 4th, 2019 on the PC, but this week they released a Switch port for more unsettling horror shmup fans to enjoy. In Remote Life, it's the 2200s, and you take control of pilot John Leon, who has been tasked with infiltrating and destroying an alien hive before it reaches planet Earth. And that's the gist of it. Pew pew your way through some disconcerting enemies and an alien metal labyrinth to save humanity. Cool fighter pilot? Check. Incredible visual design? Check. Killer music? Check again. These were the features that immediately stood out to me and enhanced my experience. The visuals in particular are the most striking, and might be what initially pulls you into this title. The artists nailed that dread alien aesthetic with their 3D pre-rendered sprites, with an approach to eyes and mouths and weird movement that was not unlike a title I recently reviewed, Source of Madness. Remote Life is oozing with visual style that, while not my first choice, was impeccably done and consistent with the enemy designs to the menu art, an abundance of skulls, there's a brain floating in a jar, the map design, it was all just very creepy. The sound design is solid and enhances the tone and style of the game, although the fantastic beat that begins when you really start to get into a level has a little bit more of a party vibe than I was expecting, but it did help keep my morale up and my focus sharp, so it's definitely doing something right. However, there were some elements that had me raising an eyebrow or just quitting the game to take some deep breaths and relieve some stress. I found the gameplay challenging, but also very frustrating, partly due to the aforementioned disturbing space horror design. There were many elements in the foreground and background that I could not distinguish from one another, and it felt a bit too easy to bump into a wall or a corner or a speck of green and my ship would blow up and I'd lose a life. And that was on easy. I played using my Pro controller for the Switch and I didn't have any issues, even if at times the joystick felt a bit too sensitive. But the handheld mode, I was not a fan. It was hard to see everything on the screen since there's so much detail crammed into this itty bitty little screen, and there's so much going on at once. And it was quite uncomfortable using the Switch controllers on the side. If you decide to play this title on the Switch, I would say make sure it's docked and on a big screen with no glare, and maybe scoot up a few inches to the screen a little more than usual. Speaking of Switch-related issues, I did run into some crashes and bugs while playing. Though infrequent, I did have the game completely crash when trying to start a mission or freeze during a loading screen between missions. This wasn't a major deal for me since it only happened when I had lost a mission, but I can only imagine how awful this would be if I had just gotten through a challenging part. In terms of accessibility, you have a few options. You can change the effect settings from maximum to no effects, including shadows and light effects. If the flashing lights and sounds are an issue, this may alleviate or completely remove the problem. You can enable radar for enemies sneaking up behind, you can mute the music, you can change the visual filters for some arcade or 8-bit nostalgia. There's a variety of languages to choose from. Change the difficulty, with options ranging from easy to very hard, which I shudder to imagine. While I understand that the characters are not an important part of the experience, hearing text-to-speech voice acting did pull me out of it and gave this game a bit of an amateur-like touch. I would say either get professional voice actors for the lines, or just leave it written with no voice acting. Remote Life is a solid shmup made by a passionate team of developers with a distinctive style that shakes up the genre just enough while remaining true to the conventions of shmup games. Pew pew!
Thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content here at I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors and legends that help make this channel possible. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Christian Cruz, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, Julian Colbus, Jesse, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Strick9, and Chic Geek. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Jen Rose, Larkison, Mitchell Hall, Peach, Skeptism, C. Coyle, Nathan Moore, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Carmen Red, Jace Glover, King of the Hatch, and Ophidian Mind. Thank you so much for everything that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Head on down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.